So I've been exploring this idea that I'm temporarily calling pragmatic retrocausality. And I have put a document in below this video if you'd like to read some explorations about it. And it came about because, over the years, I've kind of this quantum physics concept called retrocausality was interesting to me. I don't know a whole lot about it, but basically, uh, there are some quantum mechanics studies that seem to suggest that um, the changing something that somehow changing something now can change the past, or something about how the present uh, can sense the future can sense the present can sense the future's measurements. Anyway, I'm totally botching this, and you can please correct me and look at this up yourself. But the core idea that I think is more of an inspirational and potentially spiritually applicable idea is that the linearity of time is not um, may not be the only way that time works. And that, we've all heard spiritual concepts like the eternal now, right? Or, of course, any sci-fi fans will appreciate, love time, the idea of time travel, going back and fixing something, and then therefore having a better present and better future. So I started thinking, what if the present self can kind of travel in our mind to our past self of particular periods of our life and kind of like bless that past self and kind of counsel that past self, whisper to that past self. Who knows, right? Who knows if our some of our positive thoughts come from the future, come from our future self. I don't know. How can you prove that it doesn't? No, you can't, right? You can't prove that it's not true, right? So if you can't prove that it's not true, well, why not stay open to that? That's how I look at life. If I can't prove something is not true, because do you know all of the whole universe and the multiverse and how everything works? We know, less than 0.0000 to the infinity 1% of how reality really works. How much of reality is dark energy and dark matter? We can't even see, can't even measure it accurately. Anyway, so if you can't prove it's not true, that's how I think about life. If you can't prove something is a theory is not true, and yet you think it might be beneficial to how you could live better, might as well take it on as a play thing, as a playful tool. Um, and even believe it as much as you want to, as long as it's beneficial to your actions and to building a better life and treating yourself and other people better and creating a better world. Might as well. Okay. So then I'm like, okay, so what if I could whisper back to my past self and give it some courage, energy, some wisdom that it hasn't the past self hasn't embodied yet. Okay. And so that's what pragmatic retrocausality is. It's a pragmatic view of the possibility of retrocausality, changing the past. Now, some people might take it pretty far and say, well, I'm going to change, whether this trauma happened, whether that accident happened, whether my bad choice happened. I'm going to, go to mental time travel and pretend it didn't happen, and then maybe suddenly my present will change or something. I don't know. I mean, that's up to you how far you want to take it. I'm really taking it more as a practice of personal growth in terms of like habit change. That's really how I'm taking it as like, oh my God, I kind of wish I didn't spend the, billions of hours playing video games when I was young. And maybe didn't spend several all-nighters um on a regular basis doing it. And maybe if I just spend a little bit more time, heck, even with my loved ones or with, elders or with books or with being at the park or, something else, touching grass, maybe I would be a little bit healthier today. And a little bit less addicted still to video games. Okay. So yeah, or played better games. I don't know. Uh yeah, so what about you? Like is there some past habit, some past pattern of behavior toward yourself, toward others, toward life, how you related to life that you wish you could nudge a little bit? And like I said, we don't know what's true, what's truly true. Who knows if that might actually somehow change your timeline? You didn't even realize you're better today. That's like you didn't even know. Okay, and either way, I I think that um, being compassionate toward our past, right? This is also part of it. I'm not just going back to my past self and berating it and saying you should stop doing that. You should do better. But it's this combination of truth and love, of honesty and compassion, that integration. Like go back to the past self. It's like you weren't wrong. You were younger. You were earlier. You were less trained. You were less developed, obviously. Just like my future self would come back to my present self and says, you're probably doing the best that you can, the best that you know how to do. Let's put it that way. Like if I had the same, how many times have you thought this? If I only had the same information and wisdom that my current wisdom, if I could live those 20 years again, how would I have done it differently? Well, now you can with pragmatic retrocausality. You can bless the past and go, you were doing the best you could with the circumstances, with the constraints, with the context, with the environment, with the people around you, with your hormones, with your, maturity level. You're doing the best you could. And I want to whisper to you some blessing. May you be blank, fill in the blank. May you be stronger in these moments. May you choose better for the sake of who I am becoming, who you are becoming, which is me. May you judge yourself less. May you take the situation more lightly. May you, um, you know, take on this practice with more joy, with more diligence, with more awareness, and just having a serious but light practice of doing that, I think not only, who knows, may have some retrocausality effect. Again, we can't prove that it doesn't. I think pragmatically for the present, it has a strengthening effect to your current wisdom, right? Because you are well, as they say, you learn best when you teach. And so with this possibility, with this method, you are essentially always having the best student possible, which is your past self. You're the most important student, which is if you could change your past self. And then, so it's like blessing and counseling your past self, in effect, is blessing and counseling you, again, knowing that time is porous and that there is an eternal now. And this method can also be applied to your future self too, because retrocausality applies from present to past, but also from future to present, right? If we look at just simply the linearity of time, or if we see time as a block where it's all now, but it's just a current snapshot, right? But somehow past affects future, future can affect the past, etc., is in this hypothetical theory. So you could go to the future and say, I want to, I want to help you essentially. Like I want to make sure I prepare myself for what you are becoming and what you will need to deal with and will need to so I'm gonna I know that the choices I make today are going to compound in how it affects you. Well, just like compound interest, right? You have an interest in your future self. And so you invest your current actions and habits and awareness, knowing that it's going to compound into a much better future self. And so you kind of go to the future self and go, what would you love for me to choose and be aware of and do today that you'll be so glad that I did, that you'll be so glad that I did. And let that practice strengthen your awareness and your choices and make your choices wiser today. And so, if this is interesting, please look at the document below where it gives you a deep practice and then a menu of lighter practices that you can do with much more easily. And I love how the document ends. And I wrote the document. I didn't write the document. Claude AI wrote the document. But I prompted Claude AI using various things and research and continued to have a conversation with it until it produced what you're seeing. And I loved how it ended this. The only lasting treasures are love, wisdom, and virtues. Everything else, possession, and even pain fades. What remains is what you practiced daily, how you treated yourself and others, and whether you told the truth in time to act on it. The cross-time conversation exists so that you can do this more consciously. Begin today. Okay, so the final thing I'll say is I'm trying to figure out what's a good name for this method. And I have three. Oh, also I want to particularly point out one exercise I thought was cool. At least the name was pretty cool. It's called the Cross Time Council, which is a dialogue, structured dialogue with the past self, present self, and the future self. Hello, Scrooge. Right. So, but anyway, the entire method, I have three possible names for it, and I'd love for you to tell me which name you like best. First name, Pragmatic Retrocausality. Okay. Second name, Temporal Influence Practice. TIP. Give your past self a tip. Temporal Influence Practice. Okay. Third name, Cross Time Mentorship. Cross Time Mentorship. So anyway, I look forward to seeing if any of this resonated with you. If you want to comment and share anything that might improve this, adjust this, and what you might do with this. So I look forward to seeing your comments.